Good morning, Taylor. Here I am. Good morning. I hope you had a wonderful week. Thank you for joining us this morning for the live stream. Doo-doo-doo. Was going to cement shoes. Good morning. Was going to do this on just YouTube, but I couldn't get the stupid thing to upload my thumbnail. It still wouldn't upload it. I think there's something wrong with my trying to upload it from my thumb drive, external drive. I'm gonna have to have my daughter take a look at it because I don't understand that stuff. You too, this Brian Laundry thing. Wow. Yeah, it was exciting, wasn't it? Morning, Adam. Cessna 101. Good morning. Welcome to everybody to the Saturday morning live stream. I don't really have any news per se that I normally would cover in the beginning part of it, so we're just going to skip that. There have been some developments here and there. I mean, obviously, we had the development of Brian Laundrie case. His remains being found in the environmental reserve there, but nobody really wants to hear about that. And frankly, I'm tired of talking about it because the pure amount of hatred that I got for reporting on it isn't really worth it to me. Laura Bell, good morning and welcome to Saturday morning stream. Watch next week. They'll be back on Summer Wells and Don Dancing card. We'll be full again. Oh yeah. I'm almost certain of that in some aspects. Cement shoes. If they don't find that case, worth jumping on and talking about, there's other ones as well. There are other women who went missing at the same time as Gabby Petito, who had a larger social following on social media that the people just skated on by because they were too fixated on where is Brian. Maureen. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope I didn't miss anybody. But that's the world we live in, though. I'd like to call it short attention span theater. We only have enough attention span for what's in the news at the top of the page, and then once something falls, halfway down or onto page number 2, nobody really wants to talk about it anymore, or discuss it, or even pay attention to it. That's the way that the world works, though. You got hatred on? I'm sorry. I think your channel is great. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you, Taylor. I did. That's an old Victorian thing. They literally had dance cards. True. My grandmother, speaking of dance cards, though, cement shoes, my grandmother, when during World War II, while her husband, they got married in short order before he went over to to fight the war. She used to volunteer at a USO club, and they had dance cards, and she kept all of them. And they would write down the gentleman's name who would come in, and each person, with okay, you have so many people that you have to dance with, and here are your six guys tonight who are here to dance with. And they particularly did it a lot with the single women. It was a great way for them to meet, someone who was in the service. But even though my grandmother was married, she still did it anyways because it was something to do in their small community. The USO club was, something very important to them. the USO Club eventually turned into a VFW, and then I think Elks Lodge, but the building's still there. Good morning, faithful one. Welcome to the stream. Mario is a lurker here watching on TV app. Well, good morning, Mario. I'm glad you could be here to hang out with us this morning on this Saturday morning general chat. Good morning, Reichardt. Saw you on 60 Seconds, Will. I have a whole series of YouTube shorts. In case anybody's missed it, that's the actual name of the YouTube shorts. 60 seconds, not 60 minutes like the news program, but 60 seconds. I've made probably about 10 or 12 of them, and I've been working, kind of like redoing them here and there. But they're interesting. I'm sure they're going to be a lot more interesting than some of the other short series that I've tried. Good morning, Colleen 41. You like the shorts? Miss Sunshine, hello from Germany. I don't know how to say good morning in German. I've been there though. I've been to Germany. Been to the Ramstein Hospital and Air Base. Briefly, but I've been there. I'm glad you like the shorts though, Colleen. They're a good way to do updates on cases that are developing, and they're, to a lot of people, they, it kind of fills that gap between, well, you know what, I just don't have 5 to 10 minutes to watch a video, but I can find, time to watch a 1-minute video. Maybe they're on their lunch break, or, it's office appropriate. So I try to keep the language and the graphic details out of them as much as I can, but still cover the actual news. Gayla, good morning. Guten Tag, Guten Morgen. That's what it is. Yeah, it was I was thinking Guten Tagen. Guten Morgen. Well, welcome to the stream, the morning stream, Gayla. Glad you could be here. I hope you had a wonderful week. For everybody who may be, speaking or reading a different language other than English, there is at the bottom right-hand corner of the video screen, you should be able to toggle to other languages. So I know all my videos, I have subtitles in other languages. Not every language in the world is offered. That's just YouTube, but I try to. Guten Tag. The only thing you forgot was the ticking clock. Reichardt, that's in the new one. In the new ones, the beginning starts off with the 60 seconds, and it's got the ticking. But I'm on it, sir. Thank you, though. I've like I said, I make them. I've got like 10 or 12 of them made, and I've been going through, and then I'll download it back to my computer from upload it, and then I'll look through it and see where I can cut parts out of it where maybe I didn't say anything, it was just dead space, or maybe I repeated myself, because I do that a lot. I repeat myself a lot. I do that a lot. I repeat myself a lot. But yeah, I did add that. That's going to be like the first like 3 seconds of the video. We'll have the 60 seconds and then the clock ticking. So it'll be in there. Connie Kelly, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you had a wonderful week, Connie. Glad you could be here with us this morning. I like the shorts, quick, simple, and to the point. That's good. Glad you like them, Adam. But I've got this is my YouTube Shorts folder. I wonder how many I got here though. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 11. 11 total video shorts that are done, that are on my channel right now, that are private listed. I'm going to, starting in November, I'm going to release them every Sunday and Monday. And then, that are part of that 60 seconds shorts. Taylor, does anyone remember the first HBO intro back in the 80s? The HBO letters were spinning in space and had that weird music. Scared the crap out of me as a kid. Don't know why. Taylor, I'm not familiar really with the early 80s HBO. I remember when the HBO logo used to come in and it was like, and it was like the HBO, came in from, I don't remember it spinning though, but that had that really weird, and then dee doo dee. A lot of channels have changed over the years. I mean, I remember when MTV used to actually play music. It would come on in my area. It'd come on at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it went until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and then it turned off, and then it was the national anthem on replay constantly until the next day. That was when MTV, at least in my area, that's what it was like on our air provider. Sad story about Alec Baldwin, isn't it? The update on that though is he was not told that the stunt gun, the prop gun that he had live ammunition in it. Another tragic mistake, just like what happened to Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, on the set of the movie Crow. That actor didn't know that the gun was filled with live ammunition either. And we were talking about this offline yesterday. Why do they even have live ammunition anywhere on the set at all? It just, you think with CGI and everything else, they could do away with live ammunition or needing for it anywhere on the set at all. So same. I want my MTV. I miss the old school MTV. Yeah, MTV was when it was good. Good morning, Mike. Allah Akbar, everyone. Yeah, a lot of people assume the same way. And the most disgusting part yesterday, after besides the actual event of that cinematographer being shot and killed, was TMZ um, showing a breaking story of Alec Baldwin, in such a emotional distress and standing there next to a curb. It looked like he may have thrown up and then was bawling his eyes out. And they decided that that was the video footage that everyone in America needed to see for the breaking story. I was just like, wow. You can't even give the man, a tragic accident just like that just happened. You can't even give the man 10 seconds to, have it, and feel real emotions. They decided that was what needed to be on the air. Disgusting. I agree, Will. No reason to have live ammunition on set. Witness said that Alec Baldwin was hysterical, crying so horrible. Yeah, he's scarred for life. He definitely is. I would be too, and I think everybody, with a some kind of conscience would be scarred for life from that. I mean, it's something you never think would even happen or even be possible. Hollywood is disgusting. Those reporters are vultures. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I mean, but that's how TMZ, that's why they exist, right? Because people want to see that dirty, use the word dirty laundry on people. They want to see that, hey, that fight, or argument between two Hollywood celebrities. They want to watch and get that scoop on who, is wearing, the wrong thing at the wrong time of year. Who's put on weight? Let's fat shame them. That's why TMZ is there, for just those reasons, to stalk and get that raw emotion and pictures of people. And oh, look, oh, did Taylor Swift just buy a chocolate bar? Oh, she must be going through an emotional crisis. Let's get some bad pictures of her in that one moment and scream obscenities at her and things that they're totally off the wall, so we can get that rare photo of her. Like, what? Because that's what they want. They should always have a safety division on set to check props, etc. Gayla, I watched a he wasn't on the movie Rust that Alec was actually filming, but he's a stunt coordinator, prop coordinator for other movies, and he said that the protocol is normally when they use a prop gun, the prop gun is first, before it's ever loaded with any kind of ammunition at all, blanks, and blanks are loaded to 25 to 50% of the normal amount of gunpowder that a normal gun would have. It just doesn't have the projectile. But they show the gun around to the staff, the actors, the director, and they let them hold it, before it's ever loaded, and they explain to them what the gun is like, and how it works and everything else, so people are familiar with it. Then they show them with it actually loaded, and what the dangers and protocol is for when it's actually loaded with the blanks. And again, on this movie, everybody went through the same process, but somehow, somewhere along the line, in the prop department, somebody loaded the wrong clip in that gun, and it was live ammunition. You would think that they would have some kind of protocol, like, okay, live ammo would be in a different color clip than all the other ones. You don't have to paint the bottom of it, but maybe the sides of it, so red red is live, black is safe. Something that is easily distinguishable from a distance, or a gun that is that's prop, that's always going to be able to shoot blanks, would be somehow altered from all the other ones. You'd think that they would put protocol into place like that, but apparently, when it comes to Hollywood, sometimes people get into a rush and they don't think about these things. Good morning, Kelly P. I hope you had a wonderful week. My son went to hunter safety classes, and the shotgun was loaded with live ammo, and it went off inside of the room. Wow. Oh my God. What kind of hunting safety class was that? Damn. That would be scary as hell, Kelly. That would be scary as hell. Wow. Jeannie, good morning. Well, that would be too smart. Let's not complicate the ridiculous system. That's true. Journalism has gone down in the toilet since the internet was created. No morals, integrity, or human decency. Wish I could time warp back to the 80s, knowing what I know now. I'd appreciate it more. Taylor, when it comes to journalism, we have to. There's a much bigger picture here, and for somebody who actually, I studied journalism in college along with art history, but I have several friends who initially went into the field of journalism, and where it is now from the 1990s to now, just in the last 30 years. Um, when it comes to news bureaus, pick your local affiliate station, major broadcasting station, whatever it is, they've found that it's a lot easier and cheaper to outsource actual journalism to independent resources, so they don't have to pay taxes, they don't have to pay benefits, they don't have to do any of the things that you would normally have to do for a news bureau. The days of Edward R. Murrow are long gone, and they're never coming back, ladies and gentlemen, ever. But they can outsource the news and investigative journalism to, basically lackeys, because they don't have to pay them as much. They don't have to give them benefits. None of that stuff. And so the integrity and everything else, and quality of work is slowly dove off. And yes, part of that is the internet, but a large majority of that has to do with profit. How profitable can we make this business and still have it run with less employees? Take, for instance, your major newspaper. Well, people stop buying newspapers because of the internet. They can get their news on the internet. They don't want to buy a newspaper anymore, because why would I want to buy it when I can get the same thing on the internet from multiple sources and it's at my fingertips all day long? So all these news bureaus, like the New York Times, Seattle Post, or whatever it may be, they cut their news staff in half. All those people are gone. They're off to other fields doing whatever they're doing, but they're not there. So they got all this space. So now, well, we don't need all this space for what we used to have journalists and researchers. We don't need this big building anymore. We can downsize to a smaller building, thus saving us a whole lot more money. So now we don't need all this space because we don't have all these people. Well, in order to ever bring it back to where it was in the 1990s, they'd have to build up another building, another infrastructure, and everything else. So they're never going to do it. And sadly, just about everybody I know that I went to college with, or people I know who were in the field of journalism, are not in journalism anymore. Some of them are on Wall Street. Some of them are working as teachers, in the private school sector, not in public school, because, well, public school is a whole nother mess, on entirely. But they're not in the field anymore. I know maybe 3 journalists total. One is at KXLA, Channel 8 in Florida. One is at the Pioneer, which is Clear Wire Broadcasting out of Seattle. And the other one's out of the Los Angeles area. But he bounces back and forth between a radio station and a television station. Sounds like a corporation now. Self-checks out, robots, etc. Less people to pay, less jobs. Sad. That's the way the world is going in a lot of ways, Taylor. You can look at, but you can take that same model for news and you can put it to manufacturing or to any other industry that used to be out there. It's gone, and these jobs are never coming back. So we have to find a way to find other jobs in other areas that used to, that didn't exist maybe in the 90s or the early 2000s. You have to find new ways to find new employment, because you can do the same jobs now with less people. And that's how they look at it. If I can save 10 cents for my stockholders and we put that on the balance sheet, it looks that much better, and stockholders make money. They want to invest, and we profit and survive longer with less. Excuse me. Good morning, Rupal. Oh, just got here. I've missed a chat on laundry and Alec Baldwin, and I want to thank Rupal as I did in the comment section, but the description of the Alec Baldwin story the short that I did. Rupal was the first one that brought it to my attention, and when I saw her post on Facebook, and then I actually started looking into it. But anyways, thank you, Rupal, again for bringing that story to me. Tagging me in it. I appreciate that. Toothless. Hello. Was it a heavy night? Was what a heavy night? I'm not understanding the context of that, but welcome to the stream, Toothless. Is that a bear? That's cool. See my to you. Good morning. See my tutu. Good morning. Welcome to the stream. I hope you had a wonderful week. Okie dokie, did I miss you? I'm sorry. I gotta scroll up, see people welcoming you and saying good morning, and there you are. My mother gave me a whole bunch of my dad's jeans, 501s. She wants me to make denim quilts out of them. Are they older, like 501 button flies? Because some of those are worth some serious money, okie dokie. Hello, everyone. I just started a huge pot of chili. Ooh, gonna have cornbread later. Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, 5 buttons. I didn't even know that there are people that collect that stuff, and apparently a lot of the older like Levi's jeans and older Wranglers are very collectible in Japan. I didn't know about it until recently. Good morning, Francie. I hope you had a wonderful week. Welcome. Glad you could be here this morning. I have a degree in human services, a degree in psychology, and AOS rep for Autism Society in Oregon. I got passed on a special education job over the other lady teaching 1 month longer. Oh, that sucks. But Taylor, thank you for being a rep for the Autism Society of Oregon. That's cool. I know I'm across the border in Washington State, and we have some services here for autism, but sadly not enough. And it's as time goes on, me and my wife are definitely we're learning a lot more on just how much school system and everything else is not accommodating all that much to our son. They say they are, but not so much, not enough. That sounds good. I think I'll make homemade cheesy potato soup. Ooh. You hate Nevada? Yeah, I'm in eastern part of the state where nobody wants to live, but we're here. Being from Washington State, do I visit Canada much, Francie? Well, I'm not from Washington State. I live here. I'm originally from Wisconsin, born and raised in Wisconsin, and then some of my teenage years in Minnesota. But I've lived here now far too long. Do I visit Canada? I used to before COVID. Used to go over to. I have friends who are in the Edmonton area and Alberta. I used to go there in the summer times. Not only that, but to watch minor league baseball games. But then life kind of went the opposite direction with COVID, and I haven't been back since. Rupal, I'll be over in 15 minutes. Y'all killing me with all this food talk. I went to Vancouver, Canada, when I lived in Washington. Gorgeous. Victoria, BC. I've been there quite a few times to there to see. Well, Victoria back. It's expensive there, depending upon what you're doing. But I have a lot of times when I go over there with family, we end up getting stuck at like Bushard Gardens or taking one of those ferries over to Blake Island. For the Alaska salmon, salmon bakes or clam bakes. We always end up doing something very touristy like that. But normally when I go to Canada, I like to travel by myself because it's a lot more enjoyable because I can just kind of take things at my pace. Good morning, Kevin. Hey, my friend, I hope you had a great day and hi to everyone. Well, thank you, Kevin. Do we know how Brian Laundrie died? Francie, no, not at this point, and even the investigators there may not know right away. From what I understand from the actual case at this point, is the reason why they initially said partial remains is because parts of Brian were scattered by animals there. So I don't even know if they have all of Brian yet, but they definitely have at least the skull and the upper torso. But I don't know about the lower extremities or anything else. But it may be some time before they actually know how he died. Western Washington is gorgeous. Eastern Washington reminds me too much of the crappy Nevada. Oh, sorry, Will. Yeah, I'm sorry too. Washington State has become the survival of the fittest state. In a lot of ways, right, Cart? There's a lot of different people here. Let's just say that. I bet it wasn't Brian there. Hasn't been enough time for him to degrade like that. Well, they've confirmed the FBI, the coroner, and the state of Florida, the Dade County Sheriff's Department have all confirmed that it is Brian Laundrie's remains that have been found. And that's one of the things that a lot of people, gave me flack about by reporting that it was Brian Laundrie before, the FBI actually confirmed it the next day. Because I was to a 95 to 97% confirmation that it was Brian based on information not only that the FBI released, which was almost nothing. It was more of a, hey guys, thank you for helping us. Let's pat each other on the back press conference. There wasn't really anything in that press conference other than that. But there was a lot more information that was out there that people just don't realize that didn't make the mainstream media. So a body will decompose faster in warm waters. Florida, true. And for anybody who may have caught it on Duty, Ron had a live stream the other night where not last night, but the night before, they actually confirmed that it was Brian Laundrie, and he had another great first detective on there, Warren. Can't remember what his first name is, but he went into a much greater detail about how a body decomposes within that actual environment, water, and how some of these things, are harder for them to that deter confirmation, but other things that actually aid in preserving evidence. It's just like the bog people that they found in London and other areas in Ireland and stuff like that. These bog people, they're very well preserved. If he would have sunk down below that peat moss area in wetland, he would have been very well preserved, and they would have found him in 100 years and all shriveled up. Molly Golightly was disgraceful, yelling outside of Brian's parents' house. Mike, on KXLA, the live stream that I tagged the what was going on with Brian Laundrie. If you can watch that from the beginning before they went live with the FBI, Molly Golightly was there in the beginning of that as well, in the background, yelling at someone. I don't know who the hell he was, but she was definitely, carrying on. She got arrested. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't have anything against her. She should, like Adam said, she is a loose cannon. If you enjoy her content, great. I don't have anything against any channels other than Armchair Detective. And the only thing I have against him is he's just a stupid liar. And I really feel sorry for his subscribers who believe some of the crap that he's pushed out there, over this time as the truth. But he's the only person I have any, animosity, I guess you could say it, against. Good morning, Tracy. I'm not crazy over this new mob mentality of justice. I'm not either. But you're absolutely right. Okie dokie. But how bizarre are his parents found his bag? All right, I'll mention something about that, but I don't know all the details about it, Francie. Let's just say that, and that was pointed out by Duderon and several of the former law enforcement detectives who are on YouTube and on other platforms. The moment that his father, Brian's father, saw the bag, he never should have touched it. And there should have been an officer right there with him to make sure that he never touched that, because it contaminated that evidence the moment that he found it. And a lot of that area had only, it just recently, the waters had receded. And so where that bag was in the brush, did he know from a distance that it was Brian's? No. But, at the same time, he never should have touched it. They should have made sure that there was an officer shadowing him at all times. And the same thing with his mother, because the father went one direction, the mother went another direction. They should have had officers there immediately to make sure that they didn't touch anything with their own bare hands. And they didn't even have gloves on, nothing. So that's about all I can really say about that. But it is bizarre in that they did find it, but at the same time, they never should have been able to touch it. I'm still here. Did you hear Roku might be dropping YouTube? No, I did not hear that, Connie Kelly. I was reading that. Where to go? I started to stop watching Armchair when the Watts case was going down. That's when I found you. Well, and here I am still. Well, thank you, Janie. I appreciate it. My GF used to watch him, but she really only liked his dog. Miss Sunshine, AD's a liar. Now, before anybody hears, my comments and decides to take them out of context, I mean, I don't like what he's done, but I don't have, I have animosity towards him, but I feel more sorry about his, subscribers who actually believe, what he's had to say. And those who have been talked into giving that man money countless times, my gosh, and it's just sad as hell that people financially support something like that. I can give you 10 other channels, not mine. I don't want your money. I don't need your money. I'm not asking for your money, but I'll give you 10 other channels who will, have talked about the cases that he's covered, that have done it in a factual manner, who have never asked for a dime and who were extremely appreciative of it, and would never, ever in their lives think about bringing a pedophile onto a live stream to talk about a case that he has almost no information on, and refused to even have the letters that he says are from Chris documented or examined by somebody else who could, to compare known handwriting samples of one of the other to each other. That is just disgusting that somebody would, give airspace to somebody who's a known pedophile. That's when I stopped watching. Good morning, Anita. I'm glad you could be here with us this morning, Anita. I hope you are doing well. I am Ezekiel, YouTube creator. Some certainly have proved that humanity is MIA. That's true, but there's a good and bad with every platform and different people. Breaking news. But you'll have to go into Patreon first because it's good, and no one else has this inside information. Join me on Patreon now. Isn't that true, Taylor? Stacy, good morning, sweetheart. How are you doing? I hope you've been doing well. Just popping in to say hi. Please don't kill me. But I truly believe in this false flag operation. Gabby and Brian, dirty laundry stink since right after the beginning. I'm not going to kill you. I don't have anything against you having your opinions and your views. That's what makes the world great, Stacy, is that we can all talk about a case like this and have respect for each other, and look at the evidence and be able to come to an understanding conclusion, whichever direction the evidence really pushes us. I don't care who you are in this world, as long as you can be respectful and listen to other people's opinions, and information before you draw a line in the sand and say, this is where I'm not going to step over. I want cage fights and boxing for that kind of dough. Some kind of cheesy, rambling ex-card shark. Actual dialogue and debate. That's what I like. That's why I follow this channel. Well, thank you, Stacy. That's what's missing so much in today's society, though, is open debate by people who can truly be able to express themselves without making it personal against the other person. We've lost that. People are like, they on every aspect, from like politics on down the line, where we've decided that people are in camp A or camp B, or maybe they're in camp C, on every issue. There can't be anybody else out there who thinks, logically, and lets the evidence, factual documentation, lead them to a conclusion. Everybody has to draw a line and say, this is the line I won't cross. This is the right information. This is what I heard first. This is what I believe, and I'm not going to sway from it. And that's the way that a lot of people look at the news and the information out there. That there is nobody else out there that's going to be able to watch it or listen to something from another perspective. And it's sad. I hope that Brian's notebook will tell all to what happened to Gabby. That's true, and that's one of the clues, Connie, that a lot of people missed about the actual investigation before it was confirmed that it was Brian, was the notebook. That notebook that he had, it had it's leather bound, and you could actually replace the notebooks inside, so it wasn't the same notebook. But from high school on, he carried that stupid notebook everywhere he went. If you look at the photographs of him camping along the Appalachian Trail in the hammock, the notebook's there. You look at the photographs of him and Gabby when they're in the tent, the notebook is there. It's everywhere. He took it everywhere, and people used to make fun of him because he took that thing, he used it as kind of a journal. He wrote ideas for him and Gabby to, where they could shoot and what they would put on social media. He kept receipts in it. He wrote, that whenever him and friends or coworkers would do anything, he wrote it in there. It was like his life, an extension of him. And a lot of people missed that clue when they said that they found a notebook next to the remains. I was like, ooh, is it leather bound? And then I can't remember if it was ABC or if it was Fox that actually said that it was a covered notebook. And I was like, all right, that narrows it down. How many people actually have a covered notebook that they carry everywhere with them? That's a clue. The notebook probably has only his sketches in it. Yeah, right? Good morning, armchair detective. MI5. If y'all don't get you probably don't get the humor behind their name. It's funny. But it probably did have some sketches in it too. I don't see anyone saying that the Laundries really could have taken their son at face value. We broke up. Now they're hounding me. Maybe he has a whole library of notebooks, like life journals. Oh yeah, I'm sure he does. Okie dokie. He kept a lot of them. I mean, from high school on, and you have to remember the Brian Laundrie that you saw today in social media is not the Brian Laundrie that Gabby knew in high school, or what he didn't look anything like this. If you can see some of the photographs, and that's why a lot of people compare Brian Laundrie, mistakenly compare him to. They compare him to Chris Watts because he was heavier set. He was kind of aloof and an outcast within his own community. Very quiet and reserved individual in high school, but then he did the transformation of how he looked and started eating better and working out, kind of like Christopher Watts. But the two of them are on vast difference, in sides of the spectrum, when it comes to psychological makeup. Brian wasn't going to go out and kill his entire family. Unfortunately, we all know what he did, and he killed Gabby, but they're completely different. The family dynamic too of his parents are different from Christopher Watts' family too. I'm kind of on the unpopular side of the fence. I think the Laundries deserve to be left alone. We don't know what they've been through or what their reasons are. I'm with you on that, okie dokie, to a point. I look at it as from the documented information that we have in the case. There never was once a police department that ever put out a statement or said that the Laundrie family wasn't being cooperative. But yet, that's all you saw on the news, major media, everywhere on the internet, that the Laundrie family wasn't cooperating with authorities. True. When Dog the Bounty Hunter came knocking on their door, they didn't, the mom who was home alone at the time didn't answer the door. I wouldn't answer the door if I was at home alone and Dog the Bounty Hunter knocked on my door. If he knocked on my door, I would, probably be inside laughing, but I wouldn't answer the door. They never stopped the police from ever searching their home. They didn't have any warrants to search the home. They freely gave up all the information that they had in that aspect. But at the same time, though, I don't think that the parents are completely, clear of guilt. I think that there are certain things that they did that hindered the search for Brian. And I really, really want to know what the answer is to why did they ignore Gabby's parents for 11 days while they were calling and texting and trying to get a hold of them just to find out if they've heard from her daughter. If somebody did that and it was my daughter who was missing and they were the last persons who, probably had, or Brian was the last person, because you have to assume they were blowing up Brian's phone too, trying to get a hold of him. If somebody did that, there'd be an ass kicking involved. I wouldn't have waited 11 days. I would have waited maybe 2 days, and then my ass would be on their front door. And if they didn't answer the damn door, their door would have been coming down. I don't know how somebody could say, you know what, I'm just going to ignore them for the next 11 days. So, as part of me, I don't have any proof to this. So put the quotes around this. I think Brian came home and told them something, and that is why they ignored the Gabby's family and didn't answer their text messages and phone calls and messages online to they just ignored them altogether. I think that's why they did it. They could have answered the phone. They could have answered the text. They could have done a lot of things, but they didn't do it. And then once Brian got away and it vanished, I think they knew exactly what Brian was going to do. Disappear, die, commit suicide, whatever it was. I think that's why when they were so emotionally distant and not distraught about everything, because they'd already probably said their goodbyes. But I don't have any proof to any of that. That's just my opinion. So, anyone else feels such, as if someone feels like a setup? Yeah, there's some definite things in there, Stacy, that that makes me suspect that what we know is not exactly the true events, of how things happened. So I can understand that. Good morning, S. Singleton. I hope you had a wonderful day today, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. But thank you for joining us today. I really believe they knew Gabby was dead and they helped him. Sad. And that's a very good point, Connie. Is our hearts should go out to Gabby's parents and her friends and family, and we need to remember the victim here. I mean, the Laundry family may have lost their son as well, and yes, the circumstances of whatever he did, and if he killed himself, or if animals got to him, or whatever it may have been there in the reserve, guilt or not, they're still feeling loss, and he is a victim of what he did, but not as much as Gabby. Gabby's family is the one that we really should pay attention to, and and pray for, that they find some closure, down the line. I mean, but where everybody's looking at the entire case as Brian is guilty of the entire thing. And from day one when he was missing and the manhunt started for him, I always wondered, why didn't they issue a warrant for his arrest for murder? They were, and from the moment that Gabby's body went from the coroner to the funeral home, They weren't going to find any more evidence on her of the actual what happened to her. They had to have known at right then that they did all the scrapings under the fingernails. They did the the photographs of bruising or anything else that was on the body itself. All examination was done. If they had enough evidence from that and from the scene, they would have been able to prove that Brian Laundrie was the one who actually committed the crime. Why didn't they issue a federal or a state warrant for his arrest for murder? Keep that in context. The only warrant for him was for the improper use of a debit or credit card, and it's how it was actually worded. But it was a debit card on a checking and savings account for $1,000. There was more money in the account, from what I understand. Can't prove that, but I'm told that there was more money in the account than just that. But how likely would it be if he was alive and he was in Latin America or Mexico or somewhere else in the world, that they would have extradited Brian back to the United States for $1,000 theft? I mean, Mexico. I mean, who's not been bought off by the cartel? Who receives millions of dollars. His parents could have, simply paid off the $1,000, balance, and they would have just never even talked to him again. As long as he came into the country legally, they wouldn't have cared. There's no reason to extradite him. But without that warrant, there's no extradition, treaty back to the United States. And a lot of countries wouldn't have extradited him back to the United States if he was in Latin America and a lot of Latin American countries if they had the death penalty on the table. They will not extradite that person back unless they get a written statement that from the United States government that they will not seek the death penalty for that individual. That's the rules. So for $1,000 warrant, if he was alive in Latin America, they wouldn't have sent him back. They would have laughed at it. Oh, you're Brian Laundrie. Oh, okay. Well, you're a person of interest in a case, but well, they do have a warrant for your arrest for theft. Well, have a good day. That's how they would have basically treated it. There was no reason to send him back to the United States or even hold him. Stacey Payne, have you wondered out of all the thousands of missing and murdered that this case gets every mainstream channel's coverage and a regular victim blessed to get 30 seconds of local coverage? Yeah. Well, quickly, a little side note to that, Stacy, is there are 3 families in the state of Florida who had requested to get DNA testing for remains that were found in, I want to say 1995 or 97. These families wanted to have the DNA result, the remains tested to find out if these remains were the remains of their loved ones. And the state of Florida said no, that they would not pay to have the DNA testing done, that they needed to file an appeal to the federal government, to some fund, to get the federal government to pay for it, but the state of Florida wouldn't do it. Then 2 weeks later, they issue a blank check to search for Brian Laundrie, while those families who have been waiting since the mid 1990s were denied testing for DNA, but they wrote a blank check to find this guy at all costs. Find him. Bring in drones, get the Navy and the Air Force involved. Now we've got federal authorities. We hired, trackers and searchers from across the United States to come down in there and use their expertise to try to find this man at all costs. All resources thrown at trying to find him, and they ignored all these other cases. And there are other cases of people who disappeared or were found murdered in the state of Florida who had a larger social, following than Gabby and Brian, but they ignored them. There are other cases of other women who, across the United States who, deserved attention, but they just ignored them. Everybody was fixated on this one case and this one bald man. It's sad, and then I'm talking, when I say about that, I'm talking about white women who were murdered and missing. It's a whole other story when it comes to indigenous women and those of color. They're lucky if they get that 30 seconds of fame, of spotlight and of fame. In the same area that Gabby Petito's body was found, there are over 300 women who are missing from that general vicinity, who are either presumed dead, murdered. 300 in like a 20-year span. Only a tiny little fraction of them ever made the evening news. Some of them made page 2 or 3 of a local newspaper, and that's it. Or they're still considered missing, and it's been going on 30 years. They've never turned up. It's sad. It really is. In so many aspects. Will, I wish you'd see my question I've asked twice. Francie, I will scroll up, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Will, how come running away and hiding isn't counted as evidence of guilt? It is, Francie. In the state of Florida, it is considered an omission of guilt. If you leave the scene of a crime in the state of Florida, it is considered an omission of guilt from leaving the scene of a crime. In the state of Utah, it is not considered an omission of guilt, because you can leave the scene of a crime and you're just like, I don't want to be involved, and walk away. Wyoming is the same way. You can walk away from a crime or a crime scene, and it's not considered an omission of guilt. On state level, it is considered an omission of guilt on the federal level. But even then, if taking that piece of evidence and setting it aside, as the likelihood is of him actually being guilty of it, I mean, he was the last person who saw her alive. He was the last person that was seen with her anywhere, in public. There's a lot of things that aid to that. You stack it all up, but it all depends on the state and the location. Sweetheart, if it's considered an omission of guilt, for leaving the scene of a crime on state and federal levels. Police messed up when they don't bring him in. When it appeared the missing missing one, Tracy, true. Yeah, where the hell did your comment just go, Tracy? Oh, there it is. Yeah, but there's all. Sorry, I forgot to unplug my phone. I'm terrible at that. They were following him, but you have to understand, it's not really a mess up so much as you have to, those who were actually following Brian and following Brian's parents and keeping tabs on him. There's only so much they could do until the warrant for his arrest was done. You cannot follow someone endlessly and stalk them, because you'd be invading their privacy if you would have done so. And a lot of people want to look at it and say, okay, they should have kept closer tabs on Brian when he appeared back home with Gabby's van. They could have kept tabs on him to a point, but they couldn't, follow him forever, endlessly, and spy on him, record his phone calls, do anything else more than they actually did. Yeah, we all want to say they should have followed him more closely, but again, there are laws in place for that. If the government could just follow you anywhere tomorrow because they believe that you may be associated with crime, you wouldn't want to see that. Nobody would want that. I mean, and that's kind of what, unfortunately, that's the direction that a lot of the world is going to, though. Big Brother is everywhere. Cameras are everywhere watching us. They're watching our internet history. They're listening to me right now and to you in in the comment section. And we're all data. Okay. So maybe we're all members of Al Qaeda or some other group or some nefarious group that wants to do harm to the government. Do we want the government to believe that about us and follow us everywhere? Sorry again. Stupid doorbell. I don't know who's outside, but or if somebody's here. I don't know. I'm not even going to turn this thing on to look at the damn camera. So I guess there won't be prosecution now. He said, "Nope, not Mike, not for Brian Laundrie. Um, there very well may be prosecution for, and if they're able to prove that the parents did anything to aid in his actual disappearance. But I think right now the next thing that should happen is that Gabby's parents should, if they can prove, they don't have to prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence. They just have to prove that there's a more likelihood is that that Brian's parents aided somehow in making sure he disappeared or got away, and they should sue them civilly. Um, Now, Brian's parents do have money. They are not exactly what you call poor. They do own a lot of real estate. Brian's dad does own a juice company, of all things. He owns a juice company, but so they do have assets that they could lose civilly. I think the first part of a piece of evidence would be the ignoring them for 11 days, because that's easily provable, by text message, missed phone calls, messages on the internet, everything else, that they ignored them, and purposely. Well, he was home. We don't know why why is Gabby's parents calling us? Well, we're certainly never going to pick it up to find out. But I think they should sue him civilly. Live vision in a gambling debt. Best days ever. 10 years of frequency free home. Okay. Did you refer to him as a murderer at the conference, or was that false information, Tracy? He was listed as a person of interest in the death investigation of Gabby. You can say whatever you want about somebody, in a press conference. How do you legally list them? They didn't list him as a murderer. They didn't say that he actually murdered her. But he was listed as a person of interest. And then you can say anything you want about somebody. I mean, if you cross the line, of course you can be sued, for slander. But they never listed him as actually murdering or said that he murdered her. Now, officials, when it comes to the news and the news anchor, they can say whatever the hell they want, because there's a heck of a lot more coverage underneath the First Amendment, than just that. That what an official may be held to one standard, a reporter may be held to another. I think it's wrong to harm Brian's parents. Remember, their mourning too, loving their son isn't a crime. No, it's not. No, it's not. And again, they are the victims here as well. They're a victim of the circumstances behind this and what Brian did. They didn't force him to do what he did, and they shouldn't be treated as such. Standing outside of his home and their home and screaming at him. It's funny. Speaking of that, I'll get to that in a moment. It just popped in my head. But standing outside of their home and screaming at them and dumping garbage on their lawns and on their lawn, and following and stalking them everywhere that they went. A lot of it was crossing the line, and for some reason, the authorities will let it, take place. Brian's dad is being sued for $40 by a lady who and gentleman who made a sign and then illegally trespassed onto their property to put the sign up in their lawn. And then Brian's dad took it down and then threw it in the garage. But they're Brian's dad is actually being sued for $40 in court for the cost of depriving the individual of their property. No shit. Somebody trespassed on his property, put up a sign in his lawn. He took it down, threw it in the garage, and he's being sued for doing that. And just like the individuals who threw the laundry baskets all over their lawn, they called the police and wanted to file a police report for theft of the laundry baskets because they littered them on their lawn. They wanted to sue for that. I mean, have them arrested or prosecuted for theft of property. But Brian's dad then took them and put them out next to the trash and said, "You want your shit back? There it is." But that's funny. You have to laugh about that he's being sued for $40. You heard about the $40? What a Karen move. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a lady who I can't remember what her name is, but she's actually filed a lawsuit for $40 and enclosed the cost of the printing and everything else. And she's only suing for her part of it because other people had put in money to pay for the sign and the structure and everything else that held up the sign. But she's only suing for her money back. She could have filed to sue for the entire thing for depriving her of the use of it. It's like the signs that were put up in their yard. Don't bother the laundries; they're tired of burying bodies. Yeah, it became a nut show. Circus out in front. It was mainstream because it was covered in several states: New York, Wyoming, Utah, Florida, etc. That's why it spread so fast and so big. Several states were affected by this, and it spread worldwide. Yes, Taylor, but the Brian Laundrie case also had to do with the death of a pretty white woman, and people don't like it, but that's the truth. Um, if you change the nationality of Gabby and Brian, and you re-air the entire same story and with the same circumstances, same states, everything all together, and then he disappeared into the Everglades or someplace, or that area, same area, would it have gotten even 50% of the same coverage? No, no, I wouldn't. We would have been lucky if we would have heard the case for even a day or two. But that is the truth when it comes to the news. And on top of that, we also have to add in that they were social media influencers on Instagram and on YouTube. Somehow their lives are more important from that aspect. So that garnered a lot of attention. I'd be willing to bet of all the subscribers that I have that almost no one knew who they were before Gabby was found, murdered, and the case really started to take off from there. I'm willing to bet that maybe of all of my subscribers, maybe one or two, I should say that. I knew who she was, and it's only because another Instagrammer who I follow followed her. And in case you didn't know, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram every day. I was there this morning before this live stream. I put up videos and content on Instagram every week. But Janie, you never heard of him? Molly, good morning. How you doing, love? Doing well. I just wanted to say hi. Looking forward to your take on Larry Millett arrest. Love your haircut. Oh, thank you, love. I appreciate it. I am working on the Larry Millette case right now. That is hopefully going to be out either later today or tomorrow. But I'm tying up the loose ends, finishing the editing and all the back stuff that is boring as hell. But I'm working on it right now. I've been following the case pretty much since she disappeared. If I've shared out, her missing poster within the Filipino community in California, and we sent it out to several states actually: California, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. We have a really large Filipino American Philam society in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we made sure that a lot of people saw it, and we posted it on the pages that we could. But I've been following. I just haven't, dove into the all the things that have been happening within the case until, well, Larry's arrest. But it'll be out shortly, sweetheart. It will. Harley, 62. Good morning. How are you doing? Glad you could be here this morning for our chat. Can't wait. You're the best. Thank you, Molly. I appreciate it. Francie, will law enforcement eventually released financial conclusions report on the Petito case? Will they actually eventually? Yes and no, Francie. They will it be news where other news channels will cover it? We got about a 50% chance there that local news stations will report on how much the investigation cost. We know that the last tally was right around $1,700,000 is where it was. It was costing $150,000 a day to keep the investigation for Brian Laundrie ongoing. That is and the way you can determine that is the amount of people who are actually involved in the search and everything else. You take that times the hour per rate that they're paid or their salary, and base that, and you divide that by the total number of days total versus their total salary. Then you add in average fuel costs, the cost to rent or procure drones and other equipment. You add in all that, but that's where the $150,000 a day cost comes from. Some local authorities will release cost of manpower, but you'd have to dive into their actual budget a little bit farther to find out how much they spent on other means, gas, patrols, overtime hours, and everything else. So it's going to be hard. I think it'd be a great story for any news outlet out there to cover. Just how much money was spent total, and with that we can only count for what was spent in the state of Florida. All the rest of the United States and following up leads and sending people out to investigate leads, that costs money too. The SWAT team that broke into that motel along the Appalachian Trail and detained those two guys at gunpoint, and because he was a lookalike of Brian Laundrie, we have to add in the cost of the helicopter there, the the people who lined in from the helicopter, the damage to the actual hotel itself, the smoke grenades that they threw into the room, all that has to be added in to the total cost. It gets up there, and that was just one case. There were several other cases where people who were lookalikes of Brian were detained and other things were damaged along the way. And in a lot of cases, though, what people don't understand, kind of it's the way my scatterbrain is this morning. When law enforcement damages your property or someone's property to in the aid to arrest a suspect, law enforcement doesn't have to pay for that damage that they caused. Don't take that as bashing on the law enforcement. They have a job to do, and they were given information, but you can't say to them, you know what, you broke the door on my hotel. Give me $200. You have to apply for that. And in a lot of cases, they just kind of like, all right, here's the money. Sorry about that. But I'm not bashing on law enforcement. They have a hard enough job the way it is. Lied? Lied is a strong word, Adam. I don't necessarily know if they lied, but they've definitely kept a lot of things from us. But then again, if we knew everything, would our lives be any better today if we knew everything? I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened out there that people spend a lot of time worrying about or wanting to know the information, everything aspect about it. And it just all that's doing is just taking away from your life and your existence. But good morning, nurse. No, good morning, nurse Bev. I hope you had a wonderful week. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sorry I didn't say hello earlier. I was getting to it. Nose and eyes were very different. I love you all. I gotta go feed the mob. I only have 9 grandchildren today. Only 9. Only 9. Wow. Okie dokie. Well, you have a great day, and give my love to all 9 of your grandchildren. And you have a great day today. Do you really want to know everything? I don't. But that's the way the world is. And, it's like, oh my God, you didn't tell us everything about this. I mean, I'm sure, that Brian had to defecate somewhere wherever he was held up there, before he was, murdered. Do we want to know what was in that hole? There's going to be people out there that want to know that. Brian's a look-alike, Will? People just want the gruesome details. We will never know the whole truth. It's over. I don't think it's as much as Armchair Detective MI5. As much as I want to say that the Brian Laundrie case is over with, it's not. We know that there are channels out there that are going to latch onto it, particularly right now, if they haven't already. I mean, I don't think he's going to, and you know who I'm talking about. I don't think he's going to, but there's going to be channels that are going to carry this on for an awfully long time. And they're going to drag this out, and they're going to come up with new information. They're going to start talking about it. It's like a tree with branches that spurt off of it. They're going to find some avenue to keep it going for an awfully long time. It's that big of a story. Maybe they'll be able to find somebody who once ate a sandwich with Brian Laundrie when he worked at the nursery, and we're going to talk about that. Does it really matter what kind of person Brian Laundrie was at a nursery in the past? Does anybody care that Brian Laundrie once worked for Hot Dog on a Stick? Does anybody really care about that? But there's some people out there who worked with them at those 2 jobs. We got to get them on the evening news tonight. We got to find out what Brian was like as an employee when he was 19. We have to know right now. It's crazy. This is the way the world works, though. It's going to explode like Watts. I don't think it's going to explode like Watts. Watts is still alive, and he keeps the story going as long as people are able. There's a lot of facets there. His parents, Chris's parents were, well, they're just nutcases. But that fuels the fire and it keeps the interest, and he keeps the interest going. Then there's also the factor of the adultery and everything else where you can talk about it from other angles, you know, where there's speculation all day long. That's a different story, different animal. But yes, in a lot of ways, the Brian Laundrie case is going to go like that. We're going to find people that may have known Gabby from different places, and they're going to talk about their interest in the case, and how they saw, that Brian Laundrie was an abuser. People are going to bring everything into it to keep the story going. And is it really feeding the ego of the individual who's creating these stories, or is it for monetary or fame? And that's what you have to ask yourself after a point. It's like, why are they still doing it? So, Bex, good morning. Tamara Van Vost, good afternoon from Indiana. I feel sad for the Gabby Bryant domestic violence relationship. True. And that's the one thing that really surprised me the most about the case, Reichart, is when he left that situation and got on that airplane and flew back home. Why did Gabby not just leave? You got the van, you've got the money, you've got everything you need. Just get in your van and drive away. Don't bother to go back for him. Just leave. But then again, I guess that's more hindsight, isn't it? Maybe what we think we know about their relationship wasn't as bad as it was, or maybe he had just enough power over her where he kept her in fear long enough and is deep enough that she couldn't make a break from the relationship. Because there are cases out there, a lot of times that's the way it works. It's like, even though he's not there, physically able to control you, he emotionally controls the victim. So I'm putting that in as maybe that was the case with the Brian Laundrie situation. All right. So I'm going absolute right. I'm going to have another one of these lovely nails in my coffin. And then we're going to talk about my upcoming surgery. They couldn't stay separate. This young generation clings uncontrollably to each other. Worse than last. It does appear that way in a lot of circumstances, Stacy. Having a daughter the same age as Brian and Gabby, in that same group, I don't see it so much as clinging. In a lot of instances, it's a lot more. The dynamic is different from past generations. But then again, we always look back at the generation that's coming up next, and we say, "Man, we don't like their music. We don't like the way they dress. We don't like the way that they act. We don't like the way that they date. We don't like the way that they do anything." And then in that generation is looking back on the generation behind them, and they're saying the same thing, and so on and so on and so on, back through time. We always do that. But the dating and the dynamic around actual relationships has changed a lot, especially with the advent of and the influence of social media upon everyone's lives. That would have been a huge hint for Gabby to get out of an abusive relationship. It's hard, and from what I was reading and from what I understand from psychology too, is an abusive relationship, like that is not only physically abusive but emotionally abusive. You can look at it almost like a drug dependency. The one person is addicted to the other person, to thinking that tomorrow is going to be different, that they can somehow help and aid in changing that individual's behavior and how they treat them and how they treat others, that there's hope, that everything will eventually get better. They can't just stick and get up and just walk away and go, hey man, you hit me yesterday, I'm not going to put up with that shit, and walk away. That's the way we all hoped it would work, but it doesn't. I rage. I was in a very abusive relationship, and I still can't explain even to myself why it took so long for me to get out. It's fear, insecurity, and destroys confidence, etc. I rage. I'll tell you a story from my life, and not me personally, but what my mother went through. After my father died, my mother had a series of, well, let's just say, not great relationships. And I was already out of the house, but my mother ended up marrying a man who was the complete opposite of my father. She ended up marrying a man who was not only an extreme racist, but was emotionally and physically abusive towards her and my two younger sisters. Every day, this man would sit on the couch with a pump action shotgun, and he would load the shotgun over and over again, unloading it, loading it, unloading it, loading it, unloading it every day, waiting. And he had my mother convinced, if she didn't come home from work exactly on time, that she was somehow out there fucking around on him. And he would make my sister sit there and watch this mental abuse. He never physically hurt her in front of my two younger sisters, but it was the emotional trauma of that they had to watch, knowing, is there a chance that today she comes home 5 minutes late because of traffic or something, and he decides to blow her away right here in the house? And my mother, knowing this every single day for, I think, close to 5 years, something like that they were married, she put up with it. She could not make that break, at all. And it's sad. And she had the power, the finances, everything, to walk away, to get out, but she couldn't do it. He had some kind of power over her emotionally, that she didn't want to put herself out there, and in the environment again. She didn't want to be alone. It's true. It's all about control, very much. All right, so I'm going to talk to you all about my upcoming surgery. And to give you, the reason why I'm doing this now is because I have to end this stream this morning, before it goes to the 2 hour mark or plus, which I love doing, by the way. So don't get me wrong there. But it's going to affect how and when certain content comes out. So I was originally scheduled to have my knee surgery on the 5th of November. They've moved my surgery up because of a couple of complications that are worrisome to my two surgeons who are going to be doing my actual knee surgery and the ligament replacement surgery in my knee. On a recent visit to have my knee drained again and to get a cortisone shot, I think it's what it is, I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that. In my knee to get me by until the November 5th surgery date. When they went to drain it, the fluid from my knee, because obviously there was too much fluid in there and it's been building up. They found an excessive amount of blood in the actual joint itself, and where the fluid should be. And they're worried that I may have actually cut or somehow severed one of the veins in my leg, along with that I may have nerve damage because I've been having a tingling sensation in my foot, and which my foot has swollen and then decreased and swollen, and it keeps on going back and forth. So they moved my surgery from November 5th to October 29th, next Friday. I'm having knee surgery. Now, I'm not having it at an outpatient surgery center like I originally was. I have to be at the hospital to have the knee surgery done, and I have to be there at 7 a.m. in the morning. They believe that, and they're planning and they have blocked out a total of 4 hours to do the surgery. On top of, so I have to be there 7 a.m. I have to have an MRI and then the surgery itself. And so they're hoping that they can figure out why or what is causing the bleeding in my joint, is on top of it all. So on top of it all, later on after this stream, one of the other reasons why I have to cut this short is I have to go over to the blood bank this afternoon to get matched for blood, so they can have blood on hand, because they're not going to do this by orthoscopic like they did the last one. They're going to open up my knee to find out what the hell's going on in there and to get a better hands-on view of the total damage. So I'm going to be in the hospital next Friday, and the likelihood is I'm not going to be here next Saturday to do this stream at all, in any capacity. And that also, it depending upon how everything goes, I may not be here Sunday to do the true crime trivia as well. So there's a very good likelihood that obviously Friday I'm going to miss. There's not going to be any uploads from me. Saturday, nothing from me, and possibly Sunday I'm going to miss as well. Now, I'm not going to do a live stream from my hospital bed. I'm not going to stream the surgery either. I've had people actually ask me that, but it's not going to happen. So I want to let everybody know, in case I vanish after Thursday for 2 or 3 days, you now know what the hell's going on with me. But I've purposely kept everybody in the dark on really a lot of what has been going on with my my pending surgeries and my pain level, and it's more because it's my personal information, and it's not that I don't want to share my experience with everybody. It's I don't let a lot of what goes on in my life day to day out there. I have to keep something for myself and who I am. I'm here for everybody, but I'm still me. I'm still a human being. And this is, when you get to the point, in something like this, where your surgeon says we need to call in another specialist, and they're flying that surgeon in from 500 miles away because of what's going on, it'll worry you very quickly. But that's basically what's going on with me, to give everybody an update. So I have not quit. I'm not going away for good. I'm just I have to take this one step at a time, and things have rapidly been changing. Along the way, I have a whole slew of things that I have to take care of before I actually have the surgery. I don't have to have one COVID test. I have to have 2 COVID tests, and they have to both be negative. So I have purposely been isolating myself from everybody. And because a cold, of temperature, of fever, anything like that. If I check in on Friday morning at the hospital and I have a fever, a cold, or a positive test result, they're keeping my ass there. And they already told me this, look, you show up, we're not going to wait until you can come back in a week from now and do the surgery. This is something we have to take care of. We have to find out where this bleeding is coming from. And we have to find out what's causing the swelling, and everything else, and that's going on with you in your knee. So, my life. Francie, you're looking forward to being off painkillers? Well, Francie, I don't take painkillers. Opioid painkillers. The only thing I've been taking is acetaminophen, naproxen sodium, and I've been using a little bit of blue emu for arthritis joint pain. That helps numb it, and that icy hot spray. But I refuse to take most opioid painkillers. When I go to the hospital and they put me out for the surgery, there are certain things that they already know that they can't give me because I refuse to take them, or I'm allergic to them. So I'm not going to die like Michael Jackson or Prince because I'm allergic to propofol. So that won't be happening. Back left, Flecken. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Matt. And welcome, Matt. I didn't see you earlier. I'm sorry. And leave it to Beaver. There's my Beaver. Good morning, sweetheart. Sounds like you're in good hands. Yeah, I am. But I will tell you. I'll be absolutely honest with you. My anxiety level and the clarity of thinking is definitely been clouded through all of this, especially the last couple of weeks. It's really hard to be on your A game when you're being shuttled from doctor to doctor, to visit, to hospital, to X-ray to one imaging after another, to another doctor's appointment. I mean, it's just been ongoing. I've had a total of 3 days in the past 2 weeks where I have not had an appointment of some sort. Because it really rapidly picked up, though, especially, last week after, my last appointment. It was just like, oh, okay. So this isn't going to be like a routine, surgery at all. But sure, you whip. Fine. Before and after surgery helps a lot. I was taking vitamin D, Tamara, and they actually told me to stop taking vitamin C and D and E. That maybe it conflicts with the different medications they have me on now. I don't know, but they actually told me not to take a multivitamin or any or the supplements that I was taking before. And thank you for the super chat, Broken Justice. I'm driving, but I'm here. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I hope you stay safe. It's like going to the DMV, Thad. Just thinking, focus on the facts that this will be over soon. I'm doing that as much as I can. Setting Will a piece of leather, a bullet to bite down on in the first of 2 shots of whiskeys. Okay, 3. I have a bottle around here somewhere. Well, at least I did. I'm not sure if my friend finished it. He was here the other night. I wish I could turn his camera on. All right. This is going to be a little weird, ladies and gentlemen. So, I had my friend over for the last couple of days helping me. And This is the behind the camera you guys don't ever see. So that's the door to my studio. But above there, there's nothing there. His son is into what they call like stained glass making, and his son actually made me like a little window that is stained glass to put in up there. I thought that was super cool. But he came over and he helped me take the wood like you see behind me here was above there. The curtains on both sides can close, but it's more for soundproofing than anything else. It's not like, necessarily for any other reason. But the walls are pretty much the same except for that one over there. That's the only wall that's different color. That's because we filmed a podcast against that wall. But all right, well, I don't really have any place to put this camera back down. I'll set it here, I guess. But he made me a stained glass window to put him above the door. I thought that was super cool. I mean, he's only 16 years old. Really, talented kid. Fire down the esophagus. Oh, hot moonshine. Yeah, stay away from stuff like that. I got an uncle that makes cran moonshine. It's a cranberry moonshine, and he also makes a pumpkin pie and a spiced apple moonshine. He brews it all himself. I won't say where he's at, but he's in a state that starts with the letter M. Yeah, I'm not gonna say any more than that. Ooh, got to get ready for my mother-in-law. Please wish me luck. Colleen, I wish you luck. Good luck, Will. I'm enjoying your videos, especially the ones on Lori Vallow and where she is now. The details. Wow, you truly work to find this kind of information. Well, thank you, Cessna. That took some time. Now I found the information, but what the longest part, the part that took that video the longest to actually get out there, and what a lot of people don't realize is I won't cover anything on this channel. I never have, and I never will, unless I can confirm it with at least 3 sources. If I can't confirm it with 3 sources that it's actual, real, and factual, I don't cover it. And that was the most disheartening thing about watching people who had been subscribers to my channel for 2 years, year, 8 months, 6 months, whatever, who obviously never understood when I said I don't have time for the bullshit in life. And I'm going to give you guys the facts. It might be the most boring, straightforward, bland, reporting, but I don't have time for that in my life. And I hope that eventually it would be the way that most people would want to receive their news, straight and to the point. But when they came after me and attacked me for the reporting on Brian Laundrie case, not just the death video, but all the other videos, that was hurtful. I was like, why the hell have you been a subscriber in my channel for so long if you didn't want to hear the truth? But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I have to get going. I really hope that each and every one of you has a wonderful weekend. Do not forget, tomorrow night, Sunday, we have the trivia night. Tomorrow, all the questions are music related. So it is Music Sunday, trivia. So I hope that you can all be here to join us. 30 multiple choice questions and possible answers are displayed on the screen. So, don't forget that's 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I hope to see you tomorrow. So, in between now and then, bye. Thank you, Gayla. You have a great day. I'm sorry I was quickly reading it. And I rage. Thank you.